มายังพันเตติสารเนนะสหะอาถะปัญจศีลานิยาจามะตุติยัมปิมายังพันเตติสารเนนะสหะอาถะปัญจศีลานิยาจามะตติยัมปิมายังพันเตติสารเนนะสหะอาถะปัญจศีลานิยาจามะ
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ
พุทธังสรณังคัจฉามิ
พุทธังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ธัมมังสรณังคัจฉามิ
ธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิ
สังฆังสรณังคัจฉามิ
สังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ทุติยัมปิพุทธังสรณังคัจฉามิ
ทุติยัมปิพุทธังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ทุติยัมปิธัมมังสรณังคัจฉามิ
ทุติยัมปิธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ทุติยัมปิสังฆังสรณังคัจฉามิ
ทุติยัมปิสังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิพุทธังสรณังคัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิพุทธังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิธัมมังสรณังคัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิสังฆังสรณังคัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิสังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ติสรณคัมมนังนิทิตัง
อามะพันเต
ปานาติปาตาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
ปานาติปาตาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
อทินนาทานาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
อาดินนาดานาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
อภรหมจริยาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
อาบรามจาริยาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
มุสาวาทาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
มุสาวาดาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
สุราเมรยมัชฌปมาทฐานาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
สุราเมรยมัจจปมาทฐานาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
วิกาลโภชนาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
วิกาลโภชนาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
นัจจคีตวาทิตวิสูกัทัสสนามาลาคันทวิเลปนะมารณะพันธนะวิภูสนฐานาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
นาจากิตวาดิตวิสุขดักษนามาลากันภาวิเลปานะทารณะมันดานะวิภูสนฐานาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
อุจาสยนะมหาสยนาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
อุจาสยนะมหาสยนาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
อิมานิอัฏฐปัญจสิกขาปทานิ สีเลนะสุขติงยันติสีเลนะโภคสัมปทาสีเลนะนิพพุติงยันติตัสสมาสีลังวิโสทะเย
สาธุสาธุสาธุ
Yep.
Ajahn, let us request the Dhamma discourse.
บรมมาจาโลกาทิปักขิสหังปักขิกักขันจารีอันทิวักรังอายาจักขักสันติทักสักตาปักรักจักขักจักติกาเทสิทุธัมมังอนุกัมปิมังปัจจัง
โอกาสครับนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะพุทธังธัมมังสังฆังนะมัสสามิโอกาสครับ So I assume that we don't have connection error like last time. Will be more chance for us to continue what we left last time. We didn't do about the Q&A, but also for the new people. So I can't see who knew who were in the last time. But anyway, so we try to kind of basically relate it to what we were talking last time. But first of all, we like to introduce a sutta, like some kind of a sutta in the Buddha teachings. So I'll introduce Suthamo to kind of start with the sutta, and then we come back to our topic or our things from last time.
If you want to ask, is anyone able to speak back to us to ask questions or so? No. If you can you try to say something now, or I think it's already no.
Yes, Ajahn, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, sorry, like we said the last time, this is all a bit new to me and to us. So yeah, yesterday Tanjanto asked me a bit to prepare a sutta, and I basically looked on the internet for some suttas, but then we didn't have I don't have it here to read out, and I didn't actually expect to do that right now, but I can tell the one sutta I looked at which I like, and then after that, yeah, we can kind of, if anyone's new, maybe tell what we spoke about a bit last week, and then especially if you have any questions, helpful for us also to get an idea of what people want to listen to. But the sutta which I read and kind of half memorized is in the Samyutta Nikaya. It's called The Sky, I believe. And okay, so if I had it to read, it would be better in some way, but I'll basically try to quote it, or kind of quote at least the meaning. It goes something like, the Buddha speaking to monks, he says, "Monks, just as in the sky there are many kinds of winds which blow to the east, winds which blow to the west, southerly and northerly winds which are warm and winds which are cold, winds with dust in them and clear winds, strong winds and soft winds. So too in this body there are many kinds of feelings, pleasant feelings, painful feelings, and neither pleasant nor painful feelings." And he then goes on to say that for someone that in this body you can understand feelings entirely, and yeah, I don't want to misquote, I can't remember exactly the ending, but I just like the simile. It's kind of poetic, that comparing the sky with its different kinds of winds to the body and its various kinds of feelings. So yeah, this was all for the sutta really. The last time. So yeah, like I said, this is new and I can't see exactly the group or who's listening and if it's the same people or new people. So what we all kind of spoke about last time was each of our own basically biography in some way, how we came to ordain and what it was like to ordain. And I was saying how I had come to Wat Pah Chat after having gone to Amaravati in England and spent time there. And I had started to get interested in Buddhism, especially because of meditation and about kind of the difficulty in living and training as a monk, but seeing the value in it all of the time enough to make me feel like I want to continue with it. What do you want to mention each individually, or what should we do? Sum it up. Okay, so summing up for everybody else basically is Tangento told his stories. He went to Australia to study. He didn't say, but he studied to be a pilot. And then, although he was born in Thailand, kind of ironic, I would say, or funny in some way, but also he basically got more interested in meditation while in Australia. And then things kept on developing until he got to the point where he felt like he wants to come back to Thailand and to ordain, basically. And then done that and came back with also, I would say, at that time, like he said himself, he didn't have a lot of knowledge about really what it means to be a monk, but he just got this strong kind of feeling about Dhamma, I suppose, feeling like he wants to ordain and yeah, confidence in that way. And then Metiko had his story that he was doing Goenka retreats for a number of years and also traveling a bit and also went to India and then eventually came to Wat Pah Chat. And sorry, that's a very kind of short version of the story. I don't really feel comfortable telling other people's stories, but yeah, that's in brief. So we all had something like step-by-step interest in meditation and interest in Buddhism that developed more and more, and together with a sense of kind of disinterest in worldly desires and worldly pursuits. And then it reached a point where for each of us we kind of tipped enough of our mind inclining towards renunciation and inclining towards monastic life that we all decided to ordain. And me and Tan Metiko both have 5 vasas, 5 years as a monk right now, and Tanjanto has 7 years as a monk. So if anyone has any questions, it would be a good time you can ask something about Dhamma. Anything. If not, I'll try to continue speaking, but go on. Yeah, sorry, like I said this many times now, this is new and I'm we didn't prepare any like long talk or anything really to talk about. So monastic life, so to talk about monastic life. Another sutta which I looked at yesterday and read is a sutta where the Buddha talks about where he says, when I was still an unenlightened bodhisattva, before he became the Buddha, but in his lifetime as Siddhartha Gautama, who became the Buddha. And then before he became enlightened that night, he said he had the idea to divide his mind in two, in the way like he categorized his thoughts of thoughts which are unwholesome and thoughts which are wholesome. So one thought is thoughts of sensuality, sensual pleasures, and then the other half is, the other category is thoughts of renunciation and abandoning. And then he divided it also thoughts of anger, ill will or cruelty, and thoughts of, I would say, loving kindness and non-ill will, non-cruelty and harmlessness. And then he said that he watched his mind in this way, and just when a thought arose, the sutta went something like, as I set up this intention diligently, ardently, resolute, then a thought of sensual desire arose in my mind. And then I reflected that this is unwholesome, this leads to my harm, to my non-benefit, this leads to other people's harm, not to their benefit, this leads to the harm of both myself and other people, and this leads to my suffering basically. And then thinking this, the thought vanished. So he abandoned it, and then saying whenever a thought of sensual desire arose, he would reflect in this way and abandon it, or however it arose, he would abandon it. And then the same with the anger, whenever thoughts of anger arose or ill will, he would reflect that this is harmful, this leads to my harm and to my suffering for myself, and this is harmful and painful for others and for both, and just upon thinking that, the thoughts would vanish. So I think this could be quite a good method for meditation, really, and not just when sitting, but all of the time, that we have this basically right intention, and we can observe our mind and know, first of all, we have to know what is wholesome and what's not wholesome, and then recognize it, and then make an effort to abandon it. Maybe I pass it on. It's too kind of random.
Have any sutta you like it in your mind, or you have read any Buddha teaching, the Buddha teaching that you kind of, you can explain in your way, kind of introduce some, if you can.
Yeah. I have no sutta in my mind or something like that. But yeah, it's hard. I can imagine that's even harder for Ajahns who give regularly talks to find new topics or something like that. And what can I talk about? Maybe about monastic life, or what I had as a layman, kind of. I mean, I had no really perceptions or expectations on monastic life. There was just I had certain vague ideas how that will be, or what one is doing, and how it will affect oneself. But actually, I had no idea how it is. I never went to a monastery before. I went to Wat Bananachat, and so I had no real expectation how it could be. But what I noticed when I came as a lay person to Wat Bananachat, this effect of sila, how good that is. Yeah, I mean, living in the world outside, it's you live with people who do all kinds of things. Lying is quite common. Not saying the truth is quite common. cheating a little bit, doing this and that, and taking what is not given here, and at work when one do this and that. Oh, we have a different picture here. And coming in the monastery, somehow you live with people who have whom you can trust. You know, no one is taking something from you. Everyone is talking right things, not wrong things. So that I didn't expect this effect, but how good it is, yeah, how good it is for one's practice, how good it is for living together, especially, yeah. One can trust people, what they say, it's true. One doesn't have to think, oh, maybe not, maybe did he say really that? What does he mean really that? What he means? So that I found really good in monastic life. As a layman, I could observe that, yeah, in the Sangha. And also with the people around. I mean, with the Vipassana, I had also quite a good feeling for them. That was my first people that I encountered, which are related to Dhamma. And I found it also quite good, this helping aspect, this generosity aspect. But then in the monastery, really this sila aspect was quite good to feel that. I never thought about that, yeah, because somehow in the West we think, yeah, sila is not so important. One sits samadhi. What does sila have to do with samadhi or with panya? But actually, then feeling it how that is was quite convincing for me that the sila aspect is also quite important, yeah, for living together, for having a quiet mind. So yeah, that was one thing. And another thing was after 5 years now talking, what does the training affected me, or what does the training did with me? Yeah, it comes always to my mind. I read something about a Krupa Ajahn talking about living with Luang Por Man, and getting trained as a monk. And he said, yeah, training as a monk under Luang Por Man is like a complete re-education from one's thoughts, habits, character, and values. And after these 5 years, I can say, yeah, that's what it does, yeah, what it does. The whole Vinaya, the Patimokkha rules, the rules around monastic life, the whole etiquette that we keep as being a monk, that's everything made up for changing one's ingrained habits that we have, and trying to get oneself towards the Dhamma, yeah, towards Dhamma. And the habits and character traits that one has in the world are often the opposite. It goes the opposite way that it's supposed to be. That is wholesome for getting in touch with Dhamma, and all these the rules that the Buddha set up, all the form that we have, it's everything somehow made for turning oneself from this stream towards the world, against the world, towards Dhamma. And that's also super wholesome, yeah, and very good for one's practice. Not seeking excitement, not going out to the world with one's senses. And the whole rules are made for first of all living together in a community harmoniously, and then also for sila, keeping sila, and then also for having good conditions for meditation, for developing samadhi, developing wisdom. And that's also quite that's quite a good thing. Sometimes one thinks, why can't I have a second meal, or why can't I do this and that? But actually, it has everything. It has everything. It's everything composed for having a life where one can practice Dhamma. So that's that I could feel as well from these quotes that I read, and it came to my mind, and I was thinking, that's actually right. And living longer in the community, one can experience that. One sees, that's what the Buddha meant with that. That's how what the purpose was. So that's one point. And then it's for sure, it's also a way of how serious one takes it. There's a big variety of how one can live Buddhism, how one can keep the Vinaya, how one can try to establish oneself, and for sure there are a lot of monks who were not keeping Vinaya in a proper way, and but actually I can understand the dynamics of why this. So the kilesas are trying to get one convinced that second meal is good, or I need it for my health, or even in the afternoon maybe having some mamas because of my health, it's also good, or something like that. I can understand the dynamic, but actually it's not good for one's practice. That was so my reflection around the most that comes to my mind now. Maybe tomorrow I would say something different, but that's two aspects that I found in monastic life very unexpected. I didn't thought about that, but that appeared at some point. That's actually super valuable. Okay, Antti, maybe.
How is it like living in a monastic life in Panana?
I was thinking of something to talk about a bit. So thinking as Metiko speaking, and a kind of also a sutta, but also an interesting topic is one thing about why do we listen to Dhamma talks actually? What's the reason for that, and what's the benefit of it? And the sutta which I thought of is one that we chant often. I think one of the most famous suttas is the Mangala Sutta. So it starts like Asevana Chabalangnang Panditanang Chasevana Puja Chapujaniyanang Etang Mangalamuttamang. So associating with good people or wise people, it starts actually avoiding foolish people, avoiding bad people, and associating with good people, and respecting or paying puja to what's like pundits, like the experts, or the kind of those who should be paid homage to. And probably many of you know this sutta, so it goes step by step and eventually reaches to like living the monastic life, and then to complete freedom from suffering and complete kind of purity of mind and being unaffected by the world. If I remember correctly, that's the last kind of chunk. And this is also like what Metiko is saying, that living in the monastery creates an extremely good environment where everybody's keeping sila to a high standard, and we're all kind of dedicated to the practice, and yeah, it's really supportive basically, because it's not easy to practice the Dhamma, because the whole kind of flow of the world and flow of our own desires and unwholesome things are still there in the mind and will arise. And when it arises, we have to try to abandon it. And yeah, and this whole this kind of support groups help each other a lot. So what we're doing just now, and I believe what you have in your home countries or various centers and things like that, I think these are really necessary for each person to be able to practice Dhamma, whether as a monk or as a lay person. Good friends is something that the Buddha spoke about many times and kind of praised the value of it. I think he said something like I can't remember, sorry. But yeah, he was praising the friendship and how important this is. So listening to Dhamma talks, nothing's new. Like the same things keep getting repeated over and over, but somehow we need to hear it again and again, because it changes our sanya and our memory and the whole inclination of the mind. Whatever we kind of see and hear has an effect on our mind, and especially whichever's repeated a lot, like every day, will start to affect your mind. And if you think about it, then even more so, it starts to affect it. So yeah, I believe this is why we listen to Dhamma talks, to basically bring up the same feeling that we had over and over, and then together with listening to talks and contemplating the talks, and then keeping sila and also practicing meditation, whichever way we do, then all of this kind of supports our, I suppose, growth in Dhamma. And yeah, this was something I was thinking just now. So what did you ask me to talk about? Monastic life and living in a monastic life. One thing I want to say as well, though, is like I will speak about monastic life, but also to make sure it's clear that you can practice like actually in a very kind of high standard way as a lay person. You can still practice. But the monastic life is, I suppose, it's a life fully dedicated to Dhamma and fully dedicated to renunciation, and I would say a fortunate life to have the opportunity to live. And also because we have many kind of protected areas, we kind of supported by people giving us food, so we don't have to even be so tempted to kind of break sila. It's like the sila is what supports our life basically. So that's I suppose our first duty is really, and the main thing is like make sure that we keep sila, and then living in a community with like-minded people who are also trying to practice. Yeah, like I said, it's basically, I think it's the most supportive conditions towards being able to develop in Dhamma, to be able to keep the sila and to be able to meditate and everything regularly with the group. About what details about it? So yeah, I'll tell you the kind of normal daily routine in Wat Banana Chat is like this. A bell goes at 3 a.m, so super early, and then wake up, and then you have half an hour to walk from your kuti to the sala, and then do morning chanting together in this kind of in a big sala, and then sit meditation for 1 hour. And also just to mention that it's basically it's a forest, and we all sleep in kind of separate kutis, we call like wooden huts. And then there's a few buildings like the sala and office and library and things. But so yeah, everybody's sleeping in this kuti. So we come out in the morning, chanting, meditation. After the meditation, we do some sweeping, and some of the novices mop the sala, and the monks set out spittoons and set out things prepared for the meal. Then we go on Pindapat, and that's also quite far, but maybe at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, some of the Pindapat routes. And I don't know how many kilos, but at least like 2, 3, 4, 5 kilos, I think, some of the routes. We come back after Pindapat. We don't eat yet. We wait till 8 o'clock. And then we go to the sala again, and then there's a talk sometimes, or giving the 5 precepts on the weekend. And then we have the meal together, and then after the meal, sometimes there's another talk in English just for the monks especially. And then that's usually about 10 o'clock, around roughly 10 o'clock. And then we have free time until 3 o'clock. So we go back to our kutis and walk meditation, sit meditation. Some people studying, learning chanting, or trying to learn Thai, or reading Dhamma books. And then at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, everybody comes out again and has some chores together, or actually more like individually, but we each have our kind of place to clean or sweeping to do. And then that's for 1 hour. And then 4 o'clock, have a shower or so. And then 4:30, drink some kind of allowable stuff like fruit juice and whatever monks can have in the afternoon. And then 6:15, we do chanting together again, and sit from 6:45 until 7:45. And then 7:45, we can go back to our kuti and rest, or maybe some monks walk Jongkram again, or sit again for some period before going to sleep, and then waking up again at 3 o'clock. So yeah, that's the routine. And definitely when I came at first, it's not easy to wake up so early and eating only once a day, many challenges involved. And the benefit of it is about this kind of training ourselves, and going against the flow of worldly desires, of sensual desires. And it's an old tradition that we're able to kind of join into, so it has all this, basically everything's well established already. That's already the routine in Wat Banana Chat, and there's been monks doing this for not exactly that routine, but doing some of the things we're doing, like living in the forest and eating once a day and going on Pindapat, since the time of the Buddha, really, for 2,500 years. And then more recently in Thailand with the Thai forest tradition, starting with Luang Por Man, and then down to Luang Por Cha, who established Wat Nong Prabong, and everything's already well established over this age and this generation. For me, I was able to just go to the monastery and, without knowing much, just start to follow along and basically be trained in that way. I didn't understand everything at the beginning, but I kind of had faith and trust and effort to try it, basically, and to train myself with that. So Panjanto has not said anything yet, and time is running out, so I'll pass on to him to finish something.
So living in the community in Wat Banana Chat, and also living alone or secluded in some wilderness or some kind of I would say solitary. How do you see, or do you feel the difference, or what is benefit the advantage of living in a community and living alone for practice as a monk. Maybe Metiko, you've been living in a cave for a while. So how is it difficult, or how you find yourself to deal with the being alone, or basically like establish your practice or routine kind of thing, according to living alone?
Living alone, living in a cave. I mean, I was not living long in a cave. We are now on a kind of traveling, in a kind of traveling mode, visiting places where one could stay as a forest monk, because it's also not so easy in Thailand to find good places. There are a lot of places, but to find really good places to stay is not so easy, and especially for us foreigners, it's even more difficult because we don't know much in Thailand. We can't communicate that good. So that we are now in a kind of traveling mode. And before that, I was in a month in a cave, living in a cave. In my 5 years, I had also my solitude phases. And it's for some people it's difficult to live in solitude. There could be the aspect of living alone can be quite challenging. This feeling of loneliness, no one around, no kind of connection with significant connection with someone. This can be a kind of challenging point, or creatures in the caves, bats flying around, snakes can be here and there, mosquitoes, that can be a challenging point. Living in a more unprotected area can be. Some caves are quite dark. This kind of darkness can be also quite challenging. I was living at the opening of a cave. So it was not that dark, but one could go into the cave, and I would do walking meditation in the cave, and that's a good thing. In the cave, that's especially in Thailand, where it's hot. The hot season now, it's quite cool. It's quite pleasant. But in the hot season or so, it can be quite hot. And in the cave, it's cooler there. So that's one good effect in living in a cave. It's also quiet there. One doesn't hear any creatures inside the cave. I find it very good to live in such places. That's a kind of place, living in a forest, living in a cave, living in a place where one has not much sensual input. One has creatures around, one has cicadas, this and that, but these are kind of creatures where one has the tendency is that one has no negative or extreme negative or extreme positive feelings towards them. Yeah, to humans, one can have that. Yeah, one can have affection to some people. One tries to avoid others. That's a kind of thing that disturbs one's mind. One can talk. One can stimulate one's mind quite a lot. So, and in seclusion, one doesn't have that. Yeah, one has no main disturbances. The only disturbance is the mind, who creates continuously some kind of stories from the past. One jumps into the past and recollects all kinds of memories, and that steers up all kinds of emotions, feelings. That's the main disturbance, or making plans for future life. Yeah, that happened in the cave quite often. A lot of thinking of what happened in the past, what can be in the future, and yeah, it can be quite annoying. Yeah, because one thinks, oh, one shouldn't think a lot, but actually one does. Yeah. But yeah, it's also a learning process to deal with this. Yeah, it is so. One thinks of the past, one thinks of the future, and it is so. Yeah, and I have to accept it, and without having some aversion against it. So yeah, that one has to deal with that. And but the thing is, one is aware of it. Yeah, and that's why it's so annoying. Yeah. Because normally if one wouldn't be to some degree mindful, then one wouldn't notice that's going on all the time. Yeah, it's thinking stuff from the past, thinking about the future. One does that all the time, but having a little bit of awareness, one is aware of it. Yeah, and that makes it more. It comes more into one's awareness, and trying to live disciplined, and trying to have one's schedule and use the time well is quite important to get oneself doing the thing, doing meditation. But yeah, I think these kind of secluded phases are very, very, very important. One can go also deeper with one's meditation. All the disturbances most of the disturbances are gone. So one doesn't have to, there's no stimulus for thinking a lot. So it's quite good for meditation. But on the other hand, it's also good to live in a community. There are different topics coming up. Living in a community, or different defilements get steered up living in a community. And it's also good to face them. If one would live just in solitude and one doesn't have to deal with a lot of people. It's it seems to be quite a perfect situation, but actually one doesn't see one doesn't have to face other defilements that would come up when living with people, living with the sangha, when living or going out. Now we are in a kind of traveling mode. It's different. Yeah, one has to deal with the world more than in a monastery, or even less living in solitude. So it steers up much more other stuff that wouldn't come up in seclusion. So it's quite good to have this variation of different situations, and the problem sometimes is that one gets that one has a certain view. No, everything should be quiet, and I should just live in seclusion. But actually, it's not so. So I think it's also important to live with others, to live to face different situations, to have a change as well. Otherwise, one creates one's niches, and one doesn't notice that that's actually a defilement behind it. and all these defilements come up when one changes all the situations. So yeah, but living in seclusion is very important. I would say it's one can go into more deeper one's meditation, and more also a kind of more continuity is there, especially in the beginning, especially in my phase. 5 years is not much comparing to all the Guru Ajahns and what they did. So yeah, that's the thing about living in seclusion. Yeah, my plan is then we will travel in 1-2 weeks more, and then going back to this cave for a certain period, maybe before next Panza, staying there. It's in the north of Mae Hong Son, of the province Mae Hong Son, close to the Burmese border. It's a small hill tribe village. I go Pindabat with 2 monks in a monastery nearby, and have my meal also there, and then I would go to my cave, and then I would spend the rest of my day and night in the cave. And yeah, it's everything very simple. Food is very simple. It's also quite conducive. There's no much kilesas around food coming up. Yeah, I will spend the next phase then more in seclusion, and then before Panza we'll see what I'm doing. Okay, I think time is running out.
So we come close to an end. Yeah. So wondering if anyone like to ask or like to kind of comment or in anything that we have said about monastic life, living in a community and seclude or solidity as a solitary. Otherwise, we running close to the end of the sessions. We might chant some kind of spreading metta, and then that'll be it for today.
Okay. What method?
Before you chant or say anything for the ending of closing with any kind of the teaching.
Nothing much to say. I just say Anumodana for doing this, for basically having your group and making the effort in whichever way you are, at your home or going to monasteries and keeping the precepts and listening to talks and meditating. And yeah, like I was saying, that kind of the group, everybody doing it together kind of gives each other a sense of support. So yeah, basically Anumodana for what you're doing there. And yeah, maybe we'll chant the Metta Sutta in English again, the same one. Okay. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease. whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great and the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state, with none through anger or ill will, wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, free from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world.
Sadhu, sadhu.
With respect to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha together. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhaṃ Bhagavantaṃ Abhivādemi Vākāto Bhagavata Dhammō Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. With respect to Ajahn.
Thank you, Ajahn, so much for the sharing and guidance. Let us pay respect 3 pound by 3 pound to Ajahn. First pound, second pound, third pound. Ajahn, how long will you stay at the Dharmagiri?
Actually, really, we got here from we got here on the 6th, and then we actually leaving today for like Metiko just said, we're on a trip, so we're going visiting places around the north. Now came here already 2-3 nights, and then we're going further to Chiang Mai, and then go down to another branch monastery around the north, and probably like return to Ubon by the end of the year for Luang Por Chah the event at the Wat Nong Papong around January, which normally you guys will come, but this year maybe I don't know, maybe won't happen for the groups, huh? But we I think we still have it in Wat Nong Papong this year, but I don't know how it's going to be. Might be small, might be many restrictions or anything. I still don't know. But we're going to have a ngan, like kind of occasion for Luang Por Sumedho, and then Ajahn Dhammo, and quite a senior, most of the seniors forest monks in Wat Pananachat just before Luang Por Chah event. So we some of us, like 2 of us, were going back to Ubon, but Tan Metiko will continue staying in the cave for a while. Like he said, probably it will be by the end of, before the beginning of Pansa, next Pansa, and see how it goes. So hopefully we come back to Dhammakiri some point in the near future or next year. We'll see. Actually, I'm talking more than what you asked me. So yeah, so that's it. Like we only stay 3 nights and then we going today after the meal.
Yeah, because this year of the COVID, so none of us can go out.
Yeah, same. Actually, even though we looks like we're traveling around Thailand, but doesn't mean it's kind of like, how to say, convenient or safe. So we have to still be kind of aware and kind of try not to get into area that the COVID kind of spreading. And now in Thailand, we started to have few cases, like new cases, and especially in the north, Chiang Mai, and then maybe you might have heard already on the news. But
Yeah.
So something to be extra careful for us as well, traveling around the north. Yeah. So luckily we have a kind of a personal driver and then a personal car. So kind of we're not into not kind of get into public transport or any kind of like have to pack with the people. So quite safe in some way. Yeah. So yeah, thank you again for everyone. I don't see all of you, but Anumodana for having us here and giving opportunity for us to share something to you guys.
Yeah, because of for the Zoom, we are only for the committee join the Zoom. The rest is on Facebook.
I see.
Yeah, we link it to the Facebook, so the Zoom will not have a people. Normally is our in charge person only.
I see. Oh, that's very good. Relief a bit. I was thinking like, yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you. Sadhu.
Anumodana.